In front of the mirror, chair number 3. A 29-year-old's hands held a blow dryer for the first time. She was clumsy. Her fingers trembled. She got scolded by the stylist. And still, she laughed, looking at her mother in the mirror. In the smallest voice, she said, "Someday, Mom, I'll give you the most beautiful blowout." That promise would never be kept. Ria didn't know that yet. Not that day. Now, only a 65-year-old mother comes to this salon. Always alone. Looking at chair number 3, today, this is where the story begins. November in Apgujeong. The afternoon, the blow dryers go quiet. Inside the salon, everything is still. Cold air slips through the gap in the glass door and disappears. In front of the mirror, chair number 3, empty again today, the way it always is, tilted just slightly, as if still waiting for someone. A promise that was never kept sits quietly in the corner of this salon, holding its breath, waiting. This place is Seat Zero. She came again today, no reservation. From Apgujeong Rodeo Street to here is less than a 5-minute walk. She always walks. Some days she takes a taxi, but she gets out 2 blocks before the salon and walks the rest of the way, slowly. What she thinks about on that walk? I don't know. But the moment she stands at the door, her face is always just slightly composed, as if she spent the walk putting herself back together. 65 years old, not tall, not short, exactly in between. A Max Mara cashmere coat, camel. She wears this coat every November. Last year, the year before, the same coat. But it never looks worn. How carefully she tends to it, I already know. Today, the second button from the top was fastened crooked. Either she was in a hurry, or her mind was somewhere else when she buttoned it. Her hair was neatly swept back, tucked behind her ears. White strands had grown in. Along the front, above the ears, under the light, they shone. Finely, quietly. She was carrying nothing. No bag, no wallet. Only her 2 hands, tucked inside her coat pockets. When she comes here, she always arrives with only herself. The moment she stepped inside, she turned her head to the right. Same direction, same speed, every time. Toward the mirror, chair number 3. It was empty again today. Her shoulders, inside that camel coat, dropped just slightly, so no one would notice. The stylist approached without a word. They've known each other too long for greetings. A glance was enough. The stylist looked at her face and gave the smallest nod. Taking the coat, she noticed the second button, the crooked one. Without a word, she straightened it quietly with her fingers as she hung it on the rack. That too was left unsaid. She settled into chair number 1 as the cape was draped around her shoulders. She turned once more toward chair number 3. In this salon, I have watched a great many things over a very long time. Dazzling things. Women who came in carrying multiple Hermes Birkins. Women who hid their tears inside Chanel tweed jackets. But the heaviest things these chairs have ever held always arrived quietly. Things that could not be filled. Promises that could not be kept. Waiting that had simply worn itself out. Of all of them, this story is the one that has held me the longest. People call talent a gift, a rare gift from above. But even gifts have weight. A weight the one who receives it may never fully understand. Ria, this is her story. The first time I saw her mother here was many years ago. She came with her daughter. The mother walked in first. Her daughter followed. The moment the daughter stepped inside, the air in the salon shifted, just for an instant, brightened. It wasn't the lighting. It was simply that when she entered, the room itself became different. The mother slipped off her coat and said, "My daughter really wanted to come here." There was a quiet smile tucked inside her voice. Ria was already moving slowly through the salon, taking in each chair, the mirrors, the light. And then she chose for herself chair number 3. That was Ria. She was half a hand taller than her mother. Her footsteps were quiet, almost no sound at all. The kind of walk that only comes from years of training in balance. Her hair was dark and long, loosely tied back. But the moment she sat down, one strand slipped free and brushed across her cheek. Ria didn't move it. She left it there. Her eyes were large, no double eyelids, just a long, clean line. Those eyes looked different depending on who she was looking at. When she looked in the mirror, they were calm. But when she looked at her mother, just for a moment, and longer still when her mother wasn't watching, they turned warm. I remember her hands, long and slender, but on the index and middle fingers of her right hand, there were firm, hardened calluses from pulling Gayageum strings tens of thousands of times. Korea's traditional zither. And yet her palms were unusually soft. As she sat down, Ria looked at her own hands. She placed her right hand quietly over her left and rested them on her lap. Then she looked at her own face in the mirror, steadily, without expression. The moment she sat down, Ria called for her mother. "Mom, come sit here, next to me." The two of them, side by side in the mirror. In that moment, Ria's eyes turned warm. Her mother probably didn't notice. I saw then that their hands looked alike. The shape of the fingers, the angle of the wrist. The daughter's hands that had played Gayageum for years, and the mother's hands that had spent years watching them. Different, and yet the same. Ria said, "Ma, we have the same hair color." Her mother looked at both of them in the mirror. Ria's black hair had not a single strand of white. Her mother's had already been threaded through with silver. To call them the same color would have been a stretch. But her mother smiled. "You're right. That time was the quietest and the warmest thing I have ever witnessed in this salon." Ria laughed the whole time her hair was being done. Stories about Gayageum practice, how her fingers ached, how she couldn't put it down even so. Her face was bright the entire time. Then all at once, she turned to the stylist and asked, "Unni, could you teach me how to do a blowout like this?" The stylist laughed and asked, "Why?" Ria looked at her mother in the mirror. Those long eyes grew just slightly warmer. And then she said, "Because someday, I'm going to do Mom's hair myself. Beautifully." Her mother laughed. "With these hands? Your Gayageum hands?" Ria held up her own hands. Gayageum hands are the most precise hands there are. You didn't know that? The stylist laughed along. "Then I'll start teaching you today." Ria nodded with complete seriousness. That day, Ria really did learn how to hold a blow dryer. She was clumsy. She held it too close and got scolded, and still she laughed. "Ma, if I actually practice, I'll be way better than this." Her mother smiled at her in the mirror. "I look forward to it." I recorded that promise from chair number 3. A promise that was made, but that promise was never kept. The last day Ria walked out of this salon, she paused at the door and looked back once. A strand of hair was hanging loose across her eyes. She didn't move it. She left it there and smiled. Unni, I'll be back. That was the last time. Now, only a 65-year-old mother comes to this salon, alone, in her camel coat, one button fastened crooked. She looks at chair number 3, the one Ria chose herself. Today, the stylist draped the cape around her shoulders and asked quietly, "Have you been thinking about Ria a lot today too?" In the mirror, her eyes shifted. Yes, so softly she said it. Today, from this seat, I will listen to her story. Ria, who shone the way Gayageum strings do. Why that name is no longer here. In this salon, her mother was an ordinary housewife. She had a husband, she had 2 daughters. That was everything. That was enough. The year Ria turned 11, one morning, Ria and her younger sister were sitting at the breakfast table. Their father was in the shower. Breakfast was ready, but he didn't come out. Her mother knocked in the bathroom door. No answer. The shower was still running. Her father was on the floor. A heart attack. Her mother still remembers the faces of the 2 children sitting at that breakfast table. Ria, 11. Her younger sister, 8. They hadn't moved. Spoons still in hand. Looking at their mother, she said she still cannot forget those faces. The space her husband left behind. There was a substantial life insurance payout, workers' compensation as well. At least the children's education would be taken care of. Their mother clenched her teeth. She would raise these children well, no matter what. That single thought was what held her together. But life has a way of opening holes that no insurance payout can fill. By then, Ria was already holding a Gayageum. She had been since before her father passed. Ria first touched a Gayageum at 8 years old. A cousin who attended a traditional Korean music conservatory had come to visit. She set down her instrument case and stepped away for a moment. Ria walked toward it. She didn't open it. She simply placed her hand on the surface of the case. She told her mother later that she felt something moving inside it. The next day, Ria said she wanted to learn the Gayageum. Before she even fully understood what it was, her father smiled and said, "Yes." The Gayageum is not an easy instrument. 12 strings, all 12 resting on movable bridges. The right hand plucks the strings, pulling, snapping, sliding. The left hand presses and vibrates. The position, pressure, and angle must all be different for every note. Even the smallest deviation, and the sound becomes something you didn't intend. The Gayageum is sometimes called the mother of instruments, Korea's traditional zither. The sound is clear, pure. The resonance is delicate. It is said that producing a single note correctly takes most students half a year. Ria completed her first piece in 2 months. Her father heard it. He had been standing at the crack of the practice room door, her mother said later. The moment Ria pressed the last note, her father spoke. "Ria, your sound is truly special. It's Dad's favorite sound in the world." Her teacher called around that time, called Ria's mother. This child is not ordinary. Ria practiced every day. When she came home from school, she opened her instrument case before she put down her school bag. Even at the dinner table, she would bend and straighten the fingers of her left hand. Even when her mother told her to stop, Ria didn't realize she was doing it. The calluses began forming on her fingertips at 10 years old. At first, it hurt. Every time the strings pressed into her fingers, Ria bit her lip. She made no sound. Her teacher asked, "Doesn't it hurt?" Ria answered, "It hurts, but the sound of the Gayageum is more beautiful." Even after her father passed, Ria held on to those words. He had called it his favorite sound. She couldn't let go. That the heaviest burdens in life sometimes produce the most beautiful sounds. Ria probably didn't know that yet. She entered a traditional music conservatory for middle school. On the day of her audition, Ria was the first into the practice room, the last to leave. She was accepted. At the conservatory, Ria was different. When students her age went out to the yard at lunchtime, Ria was in the practice room. Not because she forced herself. She was simply there, in front of the Gayageum. That was simply natural to her. Stories about Ria circulated among the teachers. A student like this comes along once in a decade, if that. Her hands were made for the Gayageum. Her fingers were long. The speed at which her body memorized the distance between strings was unlike any other student. But more important than any of that was her ear. Ria knew which part of her own sound was wrong before anyone told her, and she corrected it herself. Her teacher said, "Ria doesn't listen to sound. She feels it." Her mother told me this in the salon, midway through having her hair done, looking in the mirror. Then quietly, her teacher said, "Ria feels the sound." Her hands shifted just slightly on her lap. She said nothing more. It was during her second year of middle school, a national traditional music competition, one of the largest in the field, open to both middle and high school students competing together. Her teacher entered Ria. Recommending a middle schooler was not a common thing, but her teacher was certain. 3 months of preparation, 7 hours a day. Her fingers swelled. The knuckle of her right index finger protruded visibly. On the day of the competition, the hall was full of high school students. Ria was the youngest competitor there. In the waiting room, Ria looked around. There were older girls, older boys. Everyone was bigger than her. Ria placed her hands on her knees. Quietly, Ria's turn came. She walked out onto the stage. Her footsteps were quiet. A small body standing on a large stage. The first note sounded. The audience shifted. Her mother told me later, the person sitting next to me heard Ria's first note and turned to me. "What year is she?" Ria played through to the end, without a single tremor. Not one note. The results were announced. Grand prize. Ria walked up to the podium. The trophy was nearly half her size. She held it with both hands. For the first time, Ria cried. On the stage. Her mother watched that face from the audience. It was the first time she had ever seen Ria cry. Her mother cried too, alone in the audience, without a sound. On the way home, Ria kept the trophy on her lap. She didn't put it in her bag. She just looked at it the whole way. Gazing out the window, Ria said, "I wish Dad could have seen this trophy." Her mother didn't answer. She just looked at Ria. When they got home, Ria set the trophy on her desk. Then she picked up her instrument case. "I have to practice." Her mother watched that from the doorway. Her daughter sitting down in front of the Gayageum on the very day she received a grand prize, without resting for even an hour, because her father's words were still in her ears. That life doesn't end with a single trophy. No one knew that yet. That was Ria, her first year of high school. The same competition, a higher division. This time, she competed against university students as well. Among the teachers, there were murmurs that Ria could do it. Her sound had changed since middle school. Deeper, heavier. Her teacher said, "Ria doesn't pluck the instrument. She has a conversation with it. That year, Ria took the grand prize again. A high school student among university students. Her second grand prize. This time, she didn't cry. Standing on the podium receiving the award, she was composed. Her mother watched from the audience. Ria not crying, a face where it was impossible to tell if she was happy or not. In the car on the way home, Ria said, "Mom, I've taken everything this competition has to give." Her mother asked, "Then what?" Ria looked out the window and said, "I need to find a bigger stage." There were bigger stages. Stages with no age limit, where professionals competed. That was where things began to change. That life would keep demanding bigger and bigger stages. Ria accepted that with a smile. In her third year of high school, she stepped onto a large stage for the first time. A competition where professional performers entered. 4 months of preparation. The inside of her left middle finger split open. The pressure of pressing the strings had become too much. She bled. During practice, she wrapped it in a bandage and kept practicing. Her mother tried to take her hand. Ria pulled it away. "Don't, Mom. I need to keep practicing." The morning of the competition, she had to wear a hanbok. Deep blue, the skirt a deep indigo, the jacket a silver grey, colours that suited Ria's long eyes perfectly. The morning of the competition, the hanbok was delivered. She opened the box. Something else was inside. It was pink. Someone else's hanbok had been delivered to Ria. She called the shop. The competition was already 2 hours away. There was no time to fix it. Ria put on the pink hanbok. She walked onto the stage wearing a colour that wasn't hers, something that wasn't hers. She didn't miss a note. Not a single one faltered. The results came out. Ria's name was not on the list of winners. That life sometimes plays unexpected tricks on you, like a pink hanbok that arrives uninvited. Perhaps Ria understood that for the first time that day. Ria looked at the list once, then raised her head and looked toward the window. Her mother was standing behind her. Ria spoke first. "Mom, let's go eat something." That was all. When they got home, Ria folded the pink hanbok neatly, without a single crease. That year, with no competition award to show, she had to rely solely on her audition for the National Music University. She wasn't accepted. She repeated the year. That year, Ria grew quieter. She practiced more. She slept less. She didn't complain. During that year, she entered another major competition. This time, 5 months of preparation. Something in the sound was visibly changing. It grew more solid, deeper. Her teacher said, "This time, it will happen." The day before the competition, nothing went wrong. No fever. The hanbok arrived correctly. Ria stood in front of the mirror. She had chosen this hanbok herself, deep ink black. Only the jacket, a clear, vivid blue. She stood there for a long time. The morning of the competition, Ria said, "Mom, I think today is going to go well." Her mother still remembers those words. I think today is going to go well. Even the temperature of that voice. They took a taxi to the venue. Ria looked out the window. This time was different. The corners of her mouth were lifted, just barely. Her mother noticed and said nothing. The taxi pulled up to the entrance of the venue. Ria stepped out first. She picked up her instrument case and looked toward the entrance. It was then a car coming from behind struck the taxi. Ria had already gotten out. She was unhurt, but her mother was still inside. When her mother stepped out and opened the door, there was a small cut on her forehead. She was bleeding slightly. The impact had locked up her lower back. She couldn't straighten up. Ria saw. She set down her instrument case and ran. "Mom!" An ambulance came. The injuries were not serious, they said. Her mother said, "Ria, go in. There's no time." Ria looked at the cut on her mother's forehead. She didn't look toward the competition hall even once. "I'll go with you, Mom." When her mother told this part of the story, she stopped. She closed her eyes in the mirror. After a long moment, she said, "I should have told her to go. I'm still so sorry about that." Ria didn't enter the competition that day. She stayed beside her mother, holding her hand, without saying a word. That year, she was barely accepted to the university on her audition alone. The day the acceptance came, Ria said it simply. "Mom, it's done. I got in." Her mother hung up the phone and sat for a long time. She said the tears didn't come. She had been holding herself tight for too long, as if her body had forgotten how to feel relief. She started university. Ria was 20. Her classmates were 19. Ria was the oldest by 1 year. On the first day of class, her professor said, "You have a long sound. With the Gayageum, even pressing the same note can differ in how long it continues to ring. There are players whose sound lingers after the fingers have left the string." Ria was one of them. But competitions continued at university too, larger ones. Ria entered. She prepared. These stages were different. One year, she sprained her hand on the day of the competition. Her hand caught in the practice room door. Another year, the judges changed, and the new panel's preferences didn't align with Ria's sound. Ria's sound leaned toward the clear and the deep. That year's judges preferred the showy and the fast. One year, her mother became very ill. Ria called from the competition hall, just before she was due to perform. Her mother answered. Ria asked, "Mom, how are you feeling? Has the fever come down?" That was all. How Ria played that day, her mother doesn't know. She was in the hospital. The result was no award. In this salon, her mother said, "Why did these things keep happening to Ria? I felt it was so unfair. It wasn't that she lacked the ability." She paused. But Ria never once said it was unfair. Not once. She said she had asked Ria once, "Ria, you've won grand prizes, twice. You have the ability. So why on these bigger stages do you keep—" She couldn't finish the sentence. Ria answered, "Mom, that's exactly why I can't let go. That's exactly why I can't let go." Because her father had called it his favorite sound. Because she knew that sound. Because her hands remembered it. She couldn't release it, even as life kept making her slip. Her hands never left the strings. Her mother lowered her eyes in the mirror. I couldn't say anything after she said that. There was a younger sister, 3 years younger. She played the same instrument. Among teachers, it was silently understood that she was a step behind Ria. But the younger sister won awards, the things Ria had not. Her mother said, "My younger one changed when she stepped on stage. She was the kind who bloomed in front of an audience." She paused. Ria was the kind who bloomed away from the stage. In the practice room, in an empty space with no one watching, Ria's sound was most beautiful there. Perhaps the moment the lights came on, something would shift, just slightly. Whether Ria herself knew that, I cannot say. Ria had no stories of romance. Her mother had asked once, "Ria, is there no one you like?" Ria answered, "I have my instrument," and laughed. She graduated. Ria worked as a performer and a lesson teacher. She was a good teacher. The students Ria taught won awards at competitions. Several of them, in this salon, her mother said. The children Ria taught kept winning. But Ria herself? Her voice stopped. She looked at herself in the mirror for a long moment. Then she said, "I couldn't say this to anyone." Seat Zero was listening. Ria's younger sister became a professor before Ria. She got married. She had a child. When the family gathered for holidays, her sister's life filled the conversation. Being a professor, her husband, her child. Ria sat quietly at the table and ate. The year her sister won prize money from a competition, the family celebrated at home. Ria was there. Ria smiled and said, "You did so well." That night, her mother woke in the early hours. She passed by Ria's room. The light was off. In the morning, Ria was in the kitchen. She said she had been at the practice room until 2 in the morning. Her mother didn't ask what she had been practicing. Ria didn't say. They ate breakfast together, and that morning simply passed. Ria lived with her mother, just the two of them. She never moved out. She would come to this salon sometimes, together with her mother, sitting in chair number 3, talking with the stylist, having her hair done beside her mother. She never forgot the blowout practice. Every time she came, she would try once. "Unni, I'm getting better at the blowout, right?" The stylist laughed. "Much better. You could do your mom's hair now." Ria looked at her mother in the mirror. Those long eyes turned warm. Exactly. I can do mom's hair beautifully now. A proper blowout. Those were the last words of a promise I heard from Ria. In this salon, in this chair. Ria turned 39. It was spring. That spring, Ria seemed different. She was busier, more lesson students. She was preparing a small recital. For the first time, a solo recital under her own name. The first time. Her mother said, Ria was at her brightest then, that spring. She put the recital program together. She sat alone and wrote out the list of pieces. Then showed it to her mother. "Mom, what do you think?" At the bottom of that list, Ria had written one piece. Next to the title, she had written something small in parentheses. "Please come, Mom." Her mother saw it. "Of course I will." She patted Ria once on the back. They set the date for the recital. May. But April came. And Ria said her head hurt. At first, she said it was just fatigue. She took painkillers. The headache seemed to ease. But the next day it came back. And the day after that. Her mother suggested seeing a doctor. Ria said, "Mom, I'll go after the recital. I think it's just nerves from preparing." One morning in April, Ria didn't get up. Her mother opened the bedroom door. Ria was on the floor. She had collapsed. Ria was taken to the hospital. She was unconscious. Her mother ran after her. She was wearing slippers. She had opened Ria's door, found her, and walked straight out. There had been no time to put on proper shoes. The doctor came out. He said cerebral hemorrhage, Her mother didn't understand the words at first. Cerebral hemorrhage. 39. She couldn't accept that those two things could exist in the same sentence. But the doctor said it again. Her mother was standing in the corridor. Her feet were cold inside the slippers. The corridor floor was white. She looked down at that white floor for a long time. She called Ria's younger sister. She picked up the phone. She pressed the numbers. It connected. Her mother couldn't speak for a long time. Her sister spoke first. "Mom, what's wrong?" Then the words came. "It's Ria." Emergency surgery began. Her mother sat down in the corridor outside the operating room. There was a chair, a hard plastic chair. She sat in it and looked at the operating room door. She did nothing. Time passed. How much? She didn't know. Ria's younger sister arrived. She sat down beside her mother. She didn't say anything. Just, she sat beside her. Her mother said that during that time, so many moments from the past moved through her mind, like scenes from a film. The day Ria first touched a Gayageum, 8 years old, that hand pressing against the surface of the instrument case. That hand holding the trophy with both arms at the first competition. That hand folding the pink hanbok neatly without a single crease. That hand holding the blow dryer for the first time, clumsy and laughing. In this salon, her mother said, I kept thinking about her hands, there in front of the operating room. What had happened to those hands? That was the only thought. The surgery was long. It ended. The doctor came out. Her mother stood up. Her mother saw the doctor's expression before he spoke. She already knew. Life can be this cruelly direct sometimes. Ria stayed for 3 more days in the intensive care unit. She never regained consciousness. Her mother went in every day, for as long as she was allowed. She held Ria's hand, her right hand. The calluses on her fingertips were still there. Right index finger, right middle finger. The calluses that had come from pulling Gayageum strings for so many years. Her mother held that hand inside both of hers. The way she had held Ria's trembling hand in the car after that first competition. Just like that. Her mother spoke. Ria, Mom is here. Can you hear me? Ria didn't answer, but her hand was warm, still. On the second day, her mother leaned close to Ria's ear and said, The recital, Mom will sit in the front row. The morning of the third day, the sound of the heart monitor changed. The nurses came running in. Her mother stepped out into the corridor. The door closed. Her mother stood in front of that door, in her slippers. Ria was 39. 1 month before the May recital, Ria left for the constellation of the heavenly zither. There was a funeral, 3 days. Her mother was there for all 3. She sat beside Ria. Mourners came and went. Ria's private teachers came. The children Ria had taught came. Small children stood in front of the coffin and wept. They wept out loud. Her mother made no sound for 3 days before the lid of the coffin was closed. Her mother went in one last time to where Ria lay. She looked at Ria's face. In this salon, her mother said, looking at Ria's face as she lay there, she looked like she was sleeping. She paused for a moment, and then I saw her hands. Ria's hands were visible inside the coffin. Her right hand, the calluses on her fingertips were still there. She said she couldn't bear to look at them because it seemed like everything that had ever hurt Ria was carved into them. That made it even harder to forgive herself. Her mother took Ria's hand one last time and leaning close to her ear, she said, "Mom wasn't good enough. I should have taken better care of you." The lid of the coffin was closed. Her mother stood there for a long time. She came home. She opened the front door. She didn't turn on the lights. She stood in the dark hallway. She could see Ria's bedroom door. It was closed. Her mother walked toward that door, slowly. She stood in front of it. She raised her hand to the door. She pressed her palm flat against it. It was cold. The wooden door was simply cold. In that moment, her mother's legs gave way. She sank to the floor, in front of the door, and a sound came out. In this salon, her mother said, "I don't remember what sound I made. It just came out." She said she didn't know if she had called Ria's name or if it had simply been a sound. Her mother stayed there for a long time, leaning against the door. She said she thought when her husband passed, her mother had been alone, but Ria had been there, that 11-year-old girl frozen with a spoon in her hand. She had become her mother's reason. She would raise these children well, no matter what. That had held her together. While Ria held the Gayageum, her mother ran alongside her. She paid for expensive private lessons. She followed her to every competition. She held her trembling hands. She stood outside the practice room on nights when Ria's fever reached 39 degrees. Ria's sound had also been her mother's sound. The tears she cried alone in the audience the day Ria received her grand prize, whether they were for Ria or for herself, she never separated them. Ria was her mother, and her mother was Ria, a pillar. Ria had been the pillar holding her mother's life upright. And then that Ria, her mother said, "When my husband passed, I was able to hold on even through the crying, because I had Ria and her sister." She paused. She wasn't looking in the mirror. She was looking at her hands, her own hands resting on her lap. But this time, I couldn't find a reason to hold on. Those words stayed in the salon for a long time, for the stylist and for me both. That silence was the heaviest, that life can arrive at a moment when it takes away the very reason you had for going on. Ria's younger sister was busy and couldn't come often. She would visit and leave. Her mother was alone, at home, every day. A month later, she opened Ria's bedroom door. The instrument case was there. On the desk was a score Ria had been writing in, left open on the last day. It was the recital program. She turned to the last page. There was a dedication written clearly in Ria's handwriting. "To you, who gave your whole life for me." Below it, something had been written small in parentheses. "Mom, please make sure you come." Her mother looked at those words for a long time, the way she had once searched through competition results lists for Ria's name. That long. Her mother didn't pick up the score. She left it on the desk just as it was. She closed the bedroom door. Then she walked out the front door. One button was fastened crooked. She didn't notice. Her mother came to this salon, to the place where chair number 3 still sat. The chair Ria had always chosen, without a reservation. After Ria left, her mother came to this salon often. For 3 years. At first it was once a month. Then it became once every 2 weeks. Some months, she came twice a week. She never made a reservation. She came when the thought came to her, when she missed Ria every time her mother came. The stylist made space for her, even if there were other clients. She would sit her in chair number 3, the chair Ria had always chosen, and bring her tea. Before any words were spoken, she would simply be there beside her, quietly. Her mother would sit in this salon and talk about Ria for a long time, without rushing. The story of the day Ria first chose this chair, the day she held the blow dryer for the first time. The day she asked to be taught how to do a blowout. The day she came home with the grand prize trophy resting on her lap. The day she folded the pink hanbok without a single crease. The day she wrote, "Please make sure you come, Mom." The stylist had her own memories. The way Ria never moved the strand of hair that fell across her face in the mirror. The way she talked about the Gayageum endlessly while having her hair done. The way she held the blow dryer with complete seriousness and asked, "Unni, I'm getting better at this, right?" The two of them passed memories back and forth like that. One would speak, the other would listen. Then the other would speak, crying and then laughing, laughing and then crying again. The stylist touched her mother's hair and said, "Today, I'll do it the way Ria would have loved." Her mother looked in the mirror. She sat in chair number 3 and looked at her own face for a long time. But that day was a little different. The empty chair beside her didn't feel entirely empty. It was always that way after they talked about Ria. In this salon, her mother said, "When I come here, I can talk about Ria as much as I want. At home, I'm alone." She paused. "This is the only place that remembers Ria and me together. The only place where I'm allowed to say her name out loud." Some days, she spoke of other things. Ria never had a home in her own name. Not even the most ordinary Chanel bag. The salon grew quiet. When I said I'd buy her a foreign car, Ria told me she was fine walking, so I should be the one to have it. She said the mother who had sacrificed everything for her deserved to enjoy more. All her daughter Ria ever had in her life was the Gayageum. The stylist reached over and held her mother's hand for a moment. She said nothing. She simply held her hand. The stylist picked up the blow dryer and said, "I can still hear Ria's voice clearly." Their eyes met in the mirror. No more words were needed. That was enough. Every time her mother left the salon, she was a little lighter. The shoulders that had dropped when she walked in were just slightly lifted when she walked out. The grief hadn't disappeared. That is not something that happens. But with every story told about Ria, with every time her name was spoken aloud, the weight that had been sitting on those shoulders came down, just a little at a time. 3 years have passed. Now it is once a month, or once every 2 months. Still she comes. When she misses Ria, when her shoulders grow too heavy, without a reservation in her camel coat. Today, her mother's hair was finished. The stylist held up the mirror. Her mother looked. She looked at her own face for a long time. Then she said, "Would Ria have been happy seeing me with a blowout like this?" The stylist smiled and said, "Of course she would. I gave it all the volume." Her mother smiled too, for just a moment. She took off the cape and put on her coat. This time she fastened each button carefully, one by one. As she picked up her bag to leave, she looked at chair number 3 for a long time. Then she nodded. She opened the door and walked out. The camel coat disappeared into the November light. Her shoulders were just slightly more open than when she had walked in. Today, too, chair number 3 was empty again. The chair Ria chose herself the very first time. It is still here, I think. Perhaps her mother doesn't come here to have her hair done. Perhaps she comes to the one place where she can talk about Ria as much as she wants. To the one place where there is someone who will say Ria's name alongside her. That promise was never kept. The promise to give her mother a beautiful blowout. And yet the moment Ria laughed in this chair, that was real. That was kept. Seat Zero does not judge. It only records quietly what was kept and what was not. Together, is there someone you know, someone you were never able to let go of? Is that person's name still living quietly in some corner of your heart? This is all that this seat remembers today. This was Seat Zero.